Welcome to this special episode of Front Forum Focus. I'm your host, George Karani, and today we have a fantastic guest returning to the podcast, AHS.
Yeah, thanks for having me, George. Been quite a while.
Yes, AHS is an emerging rapper from India. He has been making waves in the music scene with his unique blend of um, of music. His music has been featured on various radio stations in India and London, including BBC Radio. He also has collaborated with various artists globally. AHS has an impressive discography, having over 50 singles and an EP titled Safar. So, welcome to the podcast, AHS. So, as we dive into today's conversation, let's reflect on the vibrant landscape of the hip hop scene over the years. And obviously, your journey in the music scene. So, you started out with a great project basically named Safar, The Journey. What are the most impressive memories that you can reflect on, and you think are the best, which key moments which were key for your career?
There have been a lot, to be honest, but I think the moment that I need to mention, you know, I think is when my track Process, which I released, I think in May of 2021, got featured on Radiation London radio, and that was my first radio play, and it was huge because I remember prior to that I had pitched this song called No Worries, which I had released in April of 2021, to the same radio station, and that was the first song I pitched. No Worries, and they did say that it's a good song, but it's not up to the mark, right? We can't play it on our show. But then when I made Process, I again, I think production wise, Process is not a strong song, but I think it was the lyrics that sort of carried the song. And when I pitched it to Radiation London, they were like, the lyrics are tremendous, and yeah, we'd love to play it on a show. And then they did play it on their show twice actually, and yeah, that got me really excited. I still remember when my whole family was listening to the show. It was really special for me. And then I think the next week I pitched it to BBC Radio Leeds, and then they played it on the show as well. So I had this like insane amount of confidence and momentum that I was riding on. So I pitched the next song that I uploaded. I think it was Going Up, which I released in June of the same year. I pitched it to same radio stations, Radiation London and BBC Radio Leeds, and they played on the show again. Played on the show again twice. So yeah, that was huge for me. Those 2 months were pretty huge because they sort of gave me this insane amount of confidence, which is sort of still carrying me now. Because Radiation London, big ups to their host Dave, because I think he has been playing my music ever since that first song that he played, Process. Whatever song I've pitched him, he's always been honest about the feedback, but he's also played it on his show. Not because I pitched my songs consistently to him, but because he finds that quality in my songs, which I'm really thankful for. He really has shown tremendous support, and yeah, just yeah, big ups to him.
So, what how will you describe your music style and your sound to a new listener who is interested in listening to your music?
Yeah, I wouldn't like to put myself in a box, but I mean, I think of myself as a versatile artist. Like, I can write in two languages, I can rap in two languages, and I am sort of trying out different genres as well. I don't know. I like to talk mostly about how I feel, and that is what I mostly write about. And yes, sometimes it does get boring for my listeners and for me as well. But then as an artist, I realize that it's I think just talking about how I feel sort of helps me stay sane and healthy. So yeah, for me, and I read this quote somewhere. I don't remember where I read it, but it was like, because earlier I used to think that if I'm making art, it should be for the listeners, it should be for the audience, for the consumers. But when I came across this quote, it changed everything, because it said that if you're an artist, you come first. The audience, the listeners, the consumers come second. So you have to do what you need to do, right? What you feel is right, you do that, and then I think the rest will take care of itself. So that's what I've been following since. So whenever it's like, whenever I doubt myself that why am I writing about how I'm feeling again, it's, I just tell myself to, just go with the flow, because yeah, this needs to get out. I think that's the sort of mindset that I've been working with. And it has sort of helped me stay mentally healthy as well. And sometimes I look back and wonder, like, how did I even manage to write some of the pieces that I have written in the past, because I think they came from a very honest and true place, is what I like to believe.
I think I know where that kind of quote comes from because I've heard artists like Rick Rubin
Yeah, Rick
talk
Rubin. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now I
talk
remember.
about
Yeah, I think
that.
I read it in his book. Yeah.
Yes. So as you have described your style, you have worked with also various artists, and you are like very diverse in your music style. So how can you share a memorable collaboration experience and how you thought that kind of affected your sound and your music?
I've done a lot of collaborations, but I think the most special has to be the one that I did with Ditch the Ego. He's an artist from Los Angeles, and I still remember how that collaboration happened, because I remember I was I think in touch with him through Instagram for a while, and he had posted this story where he was looking for collaborations. He had this song called "I'm Done," and he wanted to make a remix of that same song, and he was looking for various artists to collaborate with. And he put out a sample, and he asked that if anybody can rap on the sample, and then he would select the artist himself. So I remember I think it was 12 a.m. here, and when I came across that story, so immediately I got down to write, and I sent my verse to him, I think around 2 a.m. Indian Standard Time. And the next day, I think in the afternoon, I heard from him that he wants to collaborate. So that was pretty huge for me. So then I had to like properly record my verse and send it to him. And then yeah, I think the production and the technical aspects did take up a lot of time, because the release was scheduled for February 2023, but it eventually happened in March 2023. But the song itself is a banger, and yeah, it doesn't matter how long it took, because the song's a banger. And yeah, I'm just proud to have worked on that song, and yeah, it was a good experience.
Great. So your music is quite diverse, and you rap in two languages. So
Yeah.
how do you think like that blend kind of inspires the audience and also like opens you up to new audiences, like the collaborations you have done in LA, and also having music plays in London?
In this day and age, I don't think a language is a barrier anymore, because I started out writing in English, and no one ever told me to stop writing in English, and that used to happen few years back. But
Yes.
I think I was only encouraged to write in both the languages, and I think that sort of helps me explore more avenues, and sort of gives me a lot more variety, I guess. So
Yes.
yeah, it just gives me a lot more freedom, because if I don't feel like writing a song in Hindi, I could always just go on and write a song in English, or vice versa. So yeah, it keeps things fresh for me, and I have a lot more freedom to experiment.
Yes. So let's talk about some challenges that you have faced when you during your journey as an artist.
Sure. Challenges. I don't know, because I don't actually think about the hardships a lot. Yes, there have been quite a lot of things I have to deal with. I think I've been blessed, because the journey till now has been rather smooth. Yeah, because yes, I have faced a couple of roadblocks, but I don't think I paid much attention to those, and that's probably why I don't remember any of those as well.
Let's talk about the future and
Sure.
looking ahead. What are your aspirations with your music currently, as you're doing like one track every month? So
Yeah.
what should the audience be waiting for? And are there any specific projects or collaborations that you are dreaming of pursuing?
Yeah, there's a lot of collaborations coming up, especially with Devansh Rastogi. You've already spoken to him, and
Yes,
you still remember the sample that I played on your show last time. So that is
yes,
still in the works. Yeah, we're pretty bummed that we still haven't been able to release it, but yeah, we want to put out the best. We want to put out our best work, and that's probably why it's taking us so long. But yeah, I just can't wait for that song to finally release. You could play that sample if you want, and it's a banger. And yeah, even I sometimes find myself going back and listening to that sample every now and then. So
yes,
yeah, a lot more collaborations coming up with Devansh Rastogi, with Rishi as well. I believe you've spoken to him as well.
yes.
And yeah, I'm just looking to collaborate a lot more. And yeah, a song every month as promised.
We are going to talk about a topic that is a bit like going to the side of health. How do you approach mental health theme in your music?
I think music for me is therapy. In all honesty, it is therapy for me, and I feel I feel grateful to have something to fall back on, because whenever something bad happens in my life or something that I find difficult to deal with, I know that I have music, and music sort of helps me get everything out and deal with my emotions better. So I'm just grateful that I have something to fall back on. For others, it might be something else, but I'm just grateful that I have music to fall back on, because not only does it help me, it helps other people as well. Because when I put my emotions and feelings out, you know, you might listen to it and then you might feel something as well. It's just something I'm really grateful for.
Oh, awesome. So let's talk about commercializations. So right now there are different ways to commercialize as an artist. We
Hmm.
see artists doing match drops, and there's different ways that people can commercialize. So
Hmm.
how do you think about incorporating these kind of moves while building your brand as an artist?
I think the number one thing that I'm trying to focus on right now is content. Because once I get my content game right, I think everything else will sort of just fall in place. Because in this day and age, one piece of content can change your whole trajectory. And
Yes.
yes, it has happened for me in the past as well. For me, dropping a song every month and hoping it does well is not enough. Like, I need to be able to do everything I can to make sure that that songs does as well as it can. So that's the aim for me. I want to give myself every chance of blowing up. And my content game is, if I'm being really honest, is not that strong. I'm still trying to figure that out. So yeah, I think yeah, that's what I need to focus on right now.
Great. And also, something great about you is your community with Instagram. So I think you have a pretty huge fan base which who are close to you
It's,
and
it's not
follow
that
up.
huge, man.
Yes, and follow up on everything that you're doing. So how do you keep up with your social media audience and keep them engaged and connect with their audience past the music?
I honestly, if I'm being really honest, I don't. Till the start of the year, I was really consistent with my content game. I was posting, I think, shorts or reels almost every day. But then I just sort of realized that probably social media is not for me. I don't even use Instagram a lot these days. So yeah, I don't use it as much, and I don't care about what I put out. Uh, so yeah, honestly, I don't engage with my audiences. If I don't know if that's what you wanted to hear, but yeah, on YouTube it's different, because yeah, on YouTube you don't need to post every day. You just have to post your song and see how it does. But on Instagram it's a totally different ball game, and I don't want to be a part of that, which is why I think stay off Instagram.
Let's talk about the role of visuals.
Visuals, yeah, okay.
So, with your music video for the football tournament,
Hmm.
how do you think visuals play a crucial role when approaching like the message that you're trying to convey
Yeah.
through your music video?
Visuals do play an important role, and I think I heard it. I read this somewhere, that if you see a movie, there's you'll always find a hero and a villain, right? Most of the time, right? When an artist puts out a music video, right, the artist is the hero in that movie. Like, the music video is the movie, and the artist is the hero. But so yeah, that was the idea that was portrayed, that which I read about, and it I was intrigued. I was very active when it came to music videos when I first started out, but then I just sort of realized that maybe it's not my cup of tea. Like, I would obviously love to do music videos, but it takes a lot of time and effort and creativity as well, which, yeah, it's already hard enough to think of a song idea. Whenever I do get a chance though to shoot a music video, I say yes, because I remember when this football tournament happened, they obviously wanted a song. So, I happily did a song for them. But then when they offered to shoot the music video as well, so that was like a bonus, because yes, I do love doing music videos, but that's not something I would, orchestrate myself. Like, I don't have enough time, patience, and energy to, do a music video on my own. So when they offered to do it for me, I said yes. And
Okay.
yeah, that's how it happened.
So, do you think about the fusion of different countries in hip hop, different cultures?
I don't think I'm well equipped to answer that question, because I think hip hop consists of, as far as I know, you've got breakdancing, you've got what rap, you've got graffiti, and beatboxing. So
Yes.
these are the four main aspects of hip hop. And yeah, I mean, yes, hip hop is transcending boundaries and languages, and yes, the popularity is increasing as well. And let me remind you, hip hop is not that old. It's still in its early ages. In India, you've still got the first generation rappers who are like, your top mainstream artists right now. In West, of course, it's different. You're still growing. It's still in its early phase. I'm not that well equipped to honestly answer that question.
So, many artists who have come from different places use their voice to talk about different social issues that they are passionate about. So, what are the most kind of topics that you think in your music you have addressed that you are passionate about?
When I started out, I did, I think, a couple of songs on, the virus, because I started out in 2020. I started out putting out songs in 2020. I was writing songs, I think, since 2018 itself, but yeah, in 2020, I got a chance, to put out a few songs, and I put out a couple of songs, about the whole virus thing that was going on. And now I think it's mostly about it's when you're an artist, it's an inward journey. I think I've said this before as well. You're trying to find yourself, and yes, I just talk about how I feel, how it can help other people as well. And yeah, I sometimes find bits and pieces of myself every now and then with every song, rather.
Great, great, great. Music also is growing. Streaming services are blowing up, which are helping independent artists grow more and be exposed to a wider uh, audience. We have seen artists do things like streaming on Twitch. So, is that something that we should expect you to? Is that something that we should expect maybe to come from you in some time in the future?
I'm not too sure about that. Maybe some years down the line, because I don't know what Twitch is all about. It's probably related to gaming, I
Yeah.
guess. But yeah, I don't know how to use it. I don't know how that any of it works. So maybe a few years down the line, but yeah, not in the near future. No chance.
So, what kind of trends or viral stuff have you seen that have been a key ingredient to some of your music?
I don't see a lot of viral stuff made, as I just told you. I don't use Instagram much, and that's where all the buzz is. So I'm not up to date with what's viral.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, I do remember that there was this trend where, somebody's driving a car, and you're telling the passenger to, put on the music, and while the whole episode happens, you crash somebody. So that was a template that I used to promote my music, or rather promote myself. But yeah, I think that's the only thing I ever did. That's the only trend surfing I've ever done, I guess.
You're focusing more on content. What do you look for in a collaborator? Let's say like an artist or a producer.
It's I don't know if it's a valid answer, but I look for vibe. It's a very vague answer, but yeah, that's what I look for, because yeah, I first asked them to send me a few samples of their work, and if I sort of vibe with that sample that they've sent me, then we take it further. But if I don't vibe with the sample, then what's the point?
Awesome, awesome. Let's talk about your more recent projects. You just released Mindset and the most recent one, which is Raz.
Raz, yeah.
So, can you tell us more about Raz and what it is about?
Raz. Okay, so I remember. Yeah, Mindset is a song I dropped in February. It's an absolute gym banger. I'm really proud to have put out a gym banger. Not something I listen to myself, but yeah.
Yes.
And Raz, I actually wrote Raz around the time when I dropped Mindset, and I dropped Raz last month. And it's a song where I just talk about my feelings and my emotions. So
Yes.
it's really close to my heart. And it
So,
was actually supposed to be collaboration. It was actually, I was supposed to collaborate with this new artist, and he sort of refused last minute. So I just put my verse in it and dropped it.
I've always been intrigued by the fusion of rap and fashion. So music and fashion, I think they go together. So
Yeah, they good. Yeah,
who has been your most inspiration, let's say fashion wise, globally?
nobody, nobody. I don't know much about fashion. I'll be pretty honest. I just wear what I like, and yeah, that's it. I don't know what color goes with what color. Yeah,
I think today's music is becoming increasingly global.
yeah.
So let's talk about maybe one of your fans who you have met who you didn't expect to be a fan from globally.
I'm not that huge, man. I'm not that huge, So yeah, I mean, it's sometimes what happens is people, when I sort of perform here and there, a few people come up to me and said that they've listened to this particular song of mine that I didn't think anybody would have heard of. So
Yes.
that's something that really strikes a chord. So that's I think that's the only thing I can speak of.
When writing a new track, do you ever consider like various elements to go viral? Do you consider those kind of trends?
If I'm being really honest, I don't. Like, I don't consciously think about putting a viral element in my track. Um, because if I do, I think it sort of feels like I'm not being true to myself. But at the same time, while I'm writing, some ideas do come up in my mind where, you know, I think where, it's like it forces me to think that maybe if I put this in my song, maybe it could, rack up those huge numbers. So that's a thought process that does happen while I'm writing the song, but I don't think I've ever put a viral element in my song.
As we are coming to the close of this podcast, what would be your advice to aspiring artists?
I've said this, I think, more than a million times. It's just one word: consistency. I'm not that huge. I'm not that, I'm not somebody you should take advice from. But if there's one thing that I've learned, is to stay consistent. Because I've been dropping songs every month since last 3 years. And I think that consistency has put me on to radios, has put me on to certain playlists that I never thought of being on. And yes, if, yeah, all thanks to consistency. So yes, just stay consistent. Things will happen for you as you progress. And yes, you just have to, I think, focus on your work and let the universe do its thing, and everything will come in due time. Yeah, just stay consistent.
Great. Final question is
Yeah, sure, sure. Fire away.
uh, you can tell us your favorite book that you have read.
Book. That's a great question. I'm glad you asked that. There are a couple actually. So I've got this book called Psycho Cybernetics by Malcolm Gladwell, which I did think of as a really scientific explanation for things, but it turned out to be a much simpler read. And I would recommend it to everyone because it's such a simple and effective read that it sort of changed my whole mindset and sort of changed how I look at life in general. Two other books by Russ. who is one of my favorite artists, along with J. Cole. I'm Team J. Cole. Yep.
Yes.
And yeah, I think it's called It's All in Your Head. And I don't remember the name of the second book. It just released. I've read that as well. Wonderful read. It's like, Russ totally puts himself out there in those two books. He's completely, totally vulnerable.
Today we celebrate not just our podcast milestone, but also AHS's journey.
And before we close, man, I would like to ask you, who's your favorite artist right now? Because I'm really looking for some new music. Who's your favorite artist, and what's your favorite song that you're bumping?
So that's a great question. I'd say I have a few artists. So right now I'm listening to the underground music scene, like in the rap music scene, I'm listening to artists like Molly Santana or something like
What's your favorite song right now?
Two Holies Trauma.
Okay. And have you ever heard Punjabi music?
Yes,
Which artist did you listen to? Do you remember?
I don't think I remember, but I've listened to some few. There's this viral kind of song by, Glinton. It's usually called Glinton 206.
Also, there's one more question that I like to ask you. You've got the big three in hip hop, right? J. Cole,
Yes,
Kendrick Lamar, and Drake.
yes.
So I want you to pick your favorite among the big three, and then somebody who's not in the big three, but you think could be sort of the future lead in the hip hop scene.
I'll say Drake is my
Drake, all
favorite.
right. And
Yes,
then which artist do you think could become, sort of the big one,
the future.
yeah, in the future?
I would go with someone like Laser Dim 700.
Okay, okay. That's a good pick. Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, links to all the songs you mentioned. Yeah, I need new
yeah.
music.
So
Okay, sure, sure. Thanks, man. Indeed. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.